So I want to point out something which is very unique. Um, for more than 30 years, I've always uh, seen 70%, 60%, 40% of Africans are good people. But sorry, I'm eating my breakfast. But I've seen about 60%, more than half of Africans make it to the United States, have all this passion and disrespect for the people providing the safety over here, for the black military guys dumb enough to protect America every year, for the Black Panthers who had to fight just so rights could exist here, for the Martin Luther King people who made civil rights happen. What's amazing to me is this laziness to fight Arabs. The Arabs are the number one reason that Africans run away. It's not for a new land, it's not for better opportunities. These people are beating their ass. They've taken over most of northern Africa, which used to be populated by Africans. They've taken over Chad, Niger. They've taken over Libya. And every time you hear Africans running away, getting on a boat, hoping they can make it to Spain, why would they just not be invited down to Uganda? Why would they not just be invited down to you can't put everything on Nigeria, because Nigeria fights back. Ghana fights back. But a lot of these other places don't fight back. Congo is giving all its land away to the Chinese now. So at what point in time do Africans take the critique of you're not fighting back for your own continent? You're running away to other places and then you patting yourself on the back on how better you are than the ADOS people. So let's listen to this, because this just happened yesterday. Several Africans died on a boat trying to flee, and all because see they try to say war in their country, but really Arabs are creating this problem. The same Arabs who tell Africans that they both practice Islam, love of Allah. So let's listen to this.
At least 7 people have died in the Mediterranean Sea, while 7 others were rescued when a boat carrying 27 African nationals sank in southern Tunisia on Sunday. More bodies were found on Monday, and the total number of deaths include 8 women and 3 children. Now, data gathered by the International Organization for Migration shows more than...
Now, if you're providing, if Africa does not want anybody to give them critique. They don't want to say you can do better. Now they want to go to other countries and say how better they could be doing, but they don't want to do the same thing. So here they are fleeing the country. Isn't that contradictory, being that Arabs run an open market in black communities and we don't in their own? What are you talking about here in America, BMT? Because Arabs don't have a county or a city. Uh, Arabs don't have a county or city here in America. But yes, it's a contradictory if we're talking um, over in their country. And then the Arab thing is separated into three parts. There's the Arabs on the Syria side, and then there's the Arabs on the Saudi Arabian side. So there's two different type of Arabs. And Persians are not the same as Arabs, but Persians don't even come into it. They have small towns in and portions of cities. Name one city. I've traveled all through this country. I see Indians have. I don't even think Indians have small towns. Indians have plazas. They live in middle. Yeah, but you're making a statement, BMT. I need a city. I need a city or a county because you're making a statement as if it's true. And I just want to narrow it down on what area you're talking about. Are you talking like Cleveland? Are you talking because I've never known Arabs to have any of that type of stuff. They're sprinkled here, but I don't know that it's just like Russians are here. Russians have a lot of San Francisco, but they don't have one location that they are. So how could I set up something in their town? Dearhorn. Okay, Dearhorn is a city. I'm gonna have to look up where Dearhorn is. Okay, so blacks don't go to Dearhorn and set up markets. Okay, so that's the discussion. So you're absolutely right. That is true. Blacks don't go to, let's say, Dearhorn. I don't even know where Dearhorn is, and set up markets. Um, you must be talking Michigan, Dearhorn, Michigan. Okay, so let's assume Dearhorn, Michigan. If a person's over in Dearhorn, Michigan, yeah. So let's say they run most of the local government and what have you in Dearhorn, Michigan. Black Africans are very different. Africans are like, and this is something I heard from a white guy say it, and it made a lot of sense. The white guy was saying that, yeah, I see you saying portions. I think, you know, we're talking about an area, and you're talking about the people being sprinkled throughout. Yeah, so if people are sprinkled throughout Texas, how can I take over if they're sprinkled? I'm just curious of that. How do you think that because you're not talking about the area, you're talking about the people being sprinkled about in the area. So how can the Africans I'm kind of lost on what you're trying to say. But let me go back to this. So the whole point that I'm saying is that Africans are constantly running away from Africa. Africans are constantly making excuses why they don't fight back. The Arabs are controlling and kicking out Africans. We see this all the time. This lady right here is explaining it to you. Let's hear what this guy has to say.
And 620 people are feared to have drowned in the Mediterranean this year alone.
So 620 people trying to run away from Africa have drowned in the Mediterranean because the Arabs are pushing them out, and the Africans are too lazy to fight back for their own continent. I don't understand. And then in Spain, the drugs and prostitution has increased from the Africans who have fought to get over there. So I don't understand why Africans would come and have all this verbal flame for the people here, but won't do it for their own continent.
While thousands have been intercepted trying to make their way to countries such as Italy and Malta, which are said to be major transit points for African and Arab migrants escaping from wars and poverty in their respective countries.
How can the Arabs run from war when the Arabs are the ones creating the war? Okay, BMT is still on this subject matter. So let's try to understand what BMT is talking about, because BMT is making a point, but I don't even understand his point. BMT, I'm gonna stop the show. What is your point? Because how is it a contradiction? I'm so confused. Your explanation, even though you keep dropping these things, you're not making anything finite. So I understand what you're trying to say. You're trying to say there's a place like San Francisco, and in San Francisco, it's all Arabs, but there's no place like that in the United States. There may be a outlier city that nobody wants to go to, like Dearhorn. So I'm just confused on what you're trying to say, BMT. I don't understand. So anyway, while BMT gets that together, let me go back to this.
Edwin Ikoria is Africa's one executive director, and he joins us via Skype from the UK. It's great to have you. Thanks very, very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me too.
These stories always just invoke emotions that, one can never understand unless, of course, you're in a situation like.
So why is he not forming the Africans to take back Africa? So he's about to get up here and make a welfare conversation. You have to help us run away. It's your country. It's your continent. Just stop the Arabs from doing it to you. If the Africans were not so loving of Islam, because see, that's the game that Arabs play on Africans. They talk the Islam talk, which ain't nothing wrong with that, but then they switch it up and start talking Kushite, Kofi, and now that Islam black guy is no longer his Islam brother. I've actually seen it several times. I saw an Arab argue to another Islam brother how Bilal was a slave, and I was like, I could see the African brother's heart start to crash, because here he is thinking all this time that this Arab guy was his Islam brother, but for whatever reason, the Arab guy was just saying that so he can get the Africans' land and resources.
Like this, that you feel safer putting your family into the water in the dark of night, not knowing what is going to happen to you, because you're safer there than you are in your home country. You're safer there than you are in your own country. So why do you not just get rid of the Arabs? The black people here had to fight the Ku Klux Klan, but the Africans don't want to fight, even though it's more of them than there are Arab. They want to run. This is a situation of many, many people. Perhaps you can tell us how dire it is at the moment.
So first of all, the first instinct to survive, the first basic human instinct
is to shoot back. The first instinct to survive is to shoot back. You run, get to safety, and then shoot again. You run, plan, come back, even if it's 10 years later, you take over. You just don't keep running.
Is, first of all, food. When people are in situations where it is so difficult to find food to eat, anything becomes an alternative. That is one. The second is...
If you can't find food to eat, go take the enemy's food. If you can't find food to eat, find a way to kill the enemy and take the enemy's food. You don't get in a boat and run.
Safety of life. When you are in a conflict situation and you do not know whether you are able to live to see the next day, anything else is an option.
That sounds like growing up in the hood. You don't know if you're going to live to see the next day. But I just don't understand what this concept of running away from the Arabs, the same Arabs who claim they love you, why run?
And so when you have a situation in Africa, particularly where there's a lot of over 400 million people living below the poverty line.
400 million people. Why do you not simply kick the Arabs out of your country? Why do you not kick the Arabs out of your continent? Even when you look at Nigeria, even though Nigerians do a way better job against the Arabs, Ghana does a way better job. But even when you look at Nigeria, Boko Haram, that's a Nigerian guy working for the Arabs trying to kill Nigerians. That's a Nigerian trying to kill Nigerian working for the Arabs. That's who Boko Haram is. He's a Nigerian guy trying to kill Nigerian people, backed up by the Arabs. How is this not understood?
And then with over 7 or 8 hotspots of conflict on the continent, this is inevitable that people will want to find a way to escape.
On the continent, it's more of you than it is the enemy, but you're running from the enemy. But you don't want nobody to say that.
The level of desperation is so terrible right now that women.
How are you desperate? Pick up a rock, pick up an arrow, pick up a spear, choke 1 or 2 of them out. In this is what the white guys have always said about Africans. Africans talk a lot of shit, but they run. I got some Africans that just moved in my neighborhood. They talk a lot of shit. They are too separated based on tribal and corruption. So here's the thing. Let's talk warfare for a second. Okay. Shaka Zulu took a bunch of different tribes. Listen to what I'm saying. Shaka Zulu took a bunch of different tribes and forced them to work together against who? The enemy. And during Shaka Zulu's reign, he was the most feared. It doesn't matter that they have different tribes. The fact that they have different tribes is a self-imposed problem. Hell, a tribe, look, the Crips and Bloods, those are different tribes. But if you go in there as the gangster disciples, those Crips and Bloods will form together against those gangster disciples. It's not about their tribes. The tribes is an excuse. Matter of fact, I need to do a video about the excuses that Africans put out. The tribe is the excuse. You got East Coast, East Chicago, West Chicago, North Chicago. But if somebody come in there talking crazy about Chicago, they all form like Voltron. So this whole tribe thing, that's just an excuse. The Arabs are kicking you out. Shout out to the people in the chat room. I do appreciate it. And corruption and greed is great. Corruption and greed is amongst their own African leaders. So there we get. What are we running from? If your African leader is screwing you over, why are you running to the safety of Rome? If your African leader is screwing you over, why are you running to the safety of Spain? Yet, when you get here to America, you start telling BMT what he should be doing. BMT, you should be doing this. BMT, you should be, look at all this good stuff you got, BMT. Yeah, I understand that, but we have to fight for that. Not trying to lump Africans in one category. This guy right here just did. This guy right here just lumped all Africans in one category. Why are we not able to do the same thing? This guy just lumped all Africans in one category. Shouldn't we tell him not to lump Africans in one category? I'm not disagreeing. I'm just trying to understand the logic. But these are the same people who sold us out. You know what? Let's put aside whether they sold us out, because they get emotional when we bring that up. So let's not even bring up the fact that they sold us out. Let's bring up the fact that in 2020, they are selling out their own children to Arab people who say they love Islam. If the Arab people love Islam, why is the Arab person putting the African person in chains and selling dark-skinned people for $200-300 per human right now? I don't know how much unity I see there. Well, it must be unity, because when they get to America, they unify and start talking greasy. Isn't this the reason why the Chinese are making all of these moves throughout the continent? The Chinese are making all these moves because the Africans are giving up the land. Like I said, what's so amazing to me, and what kind of triggered this? I saw a video today. Don't critique the Africans. They have feelings. And I'm like, are you serious? The Africans have been critiquing ADOS for 30, 40 years. They can't take 3 years of critique? Okay. So yeah, the Chinese are up there beating Africans. For you saw the one Chinese guy hitting the African with a stick because the African was late to work. Africans are doing this to themselves. But number one thing, they got to stop running. They got to stop running. Now, I have not researched this. I saw it a year ago, so let me not say I haven't researched it. I saw it a year ago, but it may have changed in 2020. But one thing I saw is when Africans made over to Spain, first thing they want to do is prostitute and sell drugs. So I don't understand. You're running away from Africa, but you want to sell drugs. Now watch this.
In Gatwick South Terminal, sniffer dog Badger is examining baggage arriving from the Caribbean. Custom dogs are possibly the most powerful tool in the fight against drugs, and all have their own skills. Badger is known as a cocaine specialist. He gives a clear indication on this black suitcase. The case is put back on the carousel and kept under surveillance. Whoever picks it up will then be stopped and searched to see if that's right. A passenger collects the suspect bag and then attempts to pass through the controls. But Customs Officer Phil is waiting for her.
Hello there. Hi, where have you just arrived from? You shut anybody off? Can you come to the back tourist, please? Let's get come up to this one here for us.
You're just woman
Passport, please.
caught pushing drugs.
Right, these are your bags, sir?
And I gotta apologize. This is England.
Do you know what's inside all of them?
This is England. This isn't Spain. So I apologize. Let me find the one in Spain that I was referring to. But while I look for that, this was 5 years ago.
More than 50 million people are displaced around the world because of conflict, poverty, persecution, and climate change. Three of the biggest gateways for migrants and refugees into Europe are through the Western.
That guy was hiding in a bumper. Jesus Christ. Oh, man, I tell you. So my point in this video is that, is this a drug? Oh, that's 8 years ago. So my point in this video is that Africans have to accept some shaming. Shaming Africans is a good thing because it allows them to be a little more honest about the stuff that they're doing. A little bit more honest about the stuff that they're doing. Running to another country because Huey P. Newton fought to make it safe and then critiquing that country is not a good look. How India and China are taking over
Hello everyone,
Horn of
welcome to
Africa.
Study IQ. Study IQ के इस वीडियो में मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि भारत चीन का जो प्रभाव है हॉर्न ऑफ अफ्रीका में आ लिया। तो आपको मैं 5 सेकंड समय देता हूं, उसके बाद मैं आंसर बताऊंगा। यहाँ पे मैं और जूम करके दिखाता हूं आपको। सो अब यहाँ पे देखिए, ये है लाल सागर, उसको अलाउ करती है। तो एक तरह से डिप्लोमेसी यहाँ पे मिशेल्स में है। तो इन कंट्रीज में मिशेल सागर भी भारत मिलेगा। इस जगह की क्या वो सूडान में खोलेगा।
So here's an Indian guy discussing how they're taking over Ethiopia, Eritrea. I just said, man, look, I say to all you guys, man, understand we're dealing with warfare. Opinions don't even matter no more. Opinions don't even weigh no more. Let me go start getting ready for work, man. But Africans, man, they got to stop being so lazy. Fight Arabs back. That's my message. Stop letting the Arabs be the Ku Klux Klan members. Fight Arabs back.